Hello and welcome. This is Business Incorporated on Channels Television. Thank you for joining us. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwagu. Coming up on the show, Ghana set for first sub-Saharan Africa LNG to power project. South Africa's net foreign reserves rise to $52.05 billion in December. And Sudan's cabinet approves 2021 budget. But let's get the show started with the intraday market numbers. And here in Africa, markets continued in the green at intraday. Here in Nigeria, the index was marginally up 0.06%. South Africa's JSE index extended gains as miners ride stimulus bets. The index was up 0.68% at intraday. Egypt gained, is closed, but gained up 1.13% on Thursday. Kenya closed positive also on Thursday. And the markets in the Middle East started their weekend on Thursday as well, closing in the green. Abu Dhabi was up 0.68%. Dubai was trading up 0.76%. Elsewhere in the region, Qatar was up 0.93%. And Saudi Arabia closed up 0.77%. In Europe, markets traded higher on Friday morning as global investors anticipate that a democratic-controlled U.S. government will lead to greater fiscal support. For more, Chelsea joins us now. Good afternoon, Chelsea. Well, German biotech firm CureVac has teamed up with the pharmaceutical giant Bayer to produce its coronavirus vaccine. What's the idea behind this partnership?
We've seen this a lot across the pharmaceutical space since the coronavirus pandemic began. We're seeing a lot of really big pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer, Bayer, AstraZeneca teaming up with these very small and young biotech firms. So this is it's part of a trend that we're seeing, in part because a lot of the development of coronavirus vaccines is not coming from big pharmaceutical companies. It's coming from these startups like CureVac, like BioNTech here in Germany. And CureVac, it was seen as one of the most promising vaccine candidates. It has fallen a bit behind some of its competitors. It hasn't been approved yet, and it doesn't expect its vaccine to be approved until perhaps the end of this quarter, the beginning of the second quarter. But it is still seen as a major contender in the race for vaccines. And the EU, for its part, has really put a lot of hope on this CureVac vaccine. It's ordered over 400 million doses of the vaccine. So CureVac is hoping that by teaming up with Bayer, they're going to get a very experienced partner who can help them with things like getting the drug approved, with distribution, with supply chain issues. So they're hoping to tap into Bayer's experience with really mass producing drugs and doing it very quickly. And for Bayer, this is a chance to really get in on a very important and very potentially big drug with a lot of market potential. So for both sides, there's certainly an advantage, but it's really hope to be a partnership that will lead to a larger supply of vaccines in the EU and the rest of the world quite quickly.
And good news for Germany's Daimler. The Mercedes-Benz parent said it has managed to slash emissions after increasing sales of electric vehicles. Tell us more on this.
It is certainly good news for Daimler because Daimler thought, and many analysts thought, that Daimler was going to get hit with penalties because it wasn't going to reach EU emission targets. So starting at the beginning of last year, the EU introduced new emission targets that said car companies could only produce a certain amount of emissions based on the vehicles they sell. So that was a big change for a lot of car makers to face the potential of fines for selling diesel and gasoline engines. So that's part of the reason why we've seen this big push towards electric vehicles. Daimler had been really lagging behind in terms of selling electric vehicles, but it seemed to have gotten quite a large boost at the end of last year. So last year in all, Daimler, which is probably best known for making Mercedes-Benz, sold about 160,000 electric Mercedes, as well as 30,000 electric smart cars. And this helped them to bring their emissions down below the EU level that would have put them open to fines that could have been up in the millions of euros.
In the meantime, Bitcoin continues to surge, hitting $40,000 for the first time. What's driving the rally of this cryptocurrency?
Well, yes, Bitcoin's big week is continuing, hitting another record high today. It's more than doubled over the past month, which even for Bitcoin is quite an astounding rally. There are really a lot of different factors that are driving Bitcoin. The rally really began earlier in 2020 as people became more and more concerned about inflation, given this big backdrop of central banks really flooding the market with stimulus. That sort of morphed into a larger rally that we've seen as many retail investors, many institutional investors, these big Wall Street names are starting to really see the potential in Bitcoin as a future method of payment. So it began as a market fear tool, and now it's really morphed into something else. But it's certainly still a very volatile asset, and we could certainly see this turnaround at any moment. But for now, Bitcoin is still really shocking the market with its gains.
All right, Chelsea, thank you. It's been a great week with you. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Hope to see you next week. And the FTSE 100 index in London dipped into negative territory in the morning, but a strong rally earlier this week means it's still on track for a weekly gain of about 6%. Sterling is also having a good day. It has extended gains against the euro on the day. Let's get an update on this and more from Juliana. Hello, Juliana. Good afternoon. Well, let's get started on the data front. UK house prices rose in December to a fresh record, but at the slowest monthly rate in 6 months. But one would wonder what's driving, this data even in a pandemic.
Good afternoon, Jimmy. Well, yes, besides the tech unicorns, there was one sector that did exceptionally well in the UK last year, and that was the housing market. It ended the year with house prices being 6% higher than they were at the same month in 2019. So if you've got the money in your pockets, the average price for a house in the UK currently stands at £253,374. I'm not as smart as you, Jimmy, to convert that into a naira, but it is a lot of money. And there are several drivers. One of them is that the banks appear to be a little bit more flexible. Mortgage approval is up at a 13-month high. So if you were typically somebody that couldn't get a mortgage a couple of years ago, if you knock on HSBC's doors, you may actually be quite successful. Then, of course, there is the stamp duty tax. Stamp duty is a premium tax you pay on top of buying your purchase. Because of the pandemic, that was scrapped until March. And the government had a Help to Buy scheme where if you were a first-time homeowner in the UK, over the past couple of years, there have been an incentive to get you on the property ladder. And now Chancellor Rishi Sunak, a couple of months ago, announced that that would be dissolved in March. So a lot of people have been going and purchasing homes to try and take advantage of that pretty successful scheme. And for vanity reasons, a lot of people that have been working from home for the first time in several years have decided that they wanted an upgrade or they wanted to change. So a lot of people that were living in the city have been purchasing homes outside of the UK, and it has led to this surge. But as you quite rightly said, that December rate month to month was just a 0.2% high, whereas if you look at the rate between October and November, it was a 1% high. So we are starting to see a slowdown, and I suppose this just reflects the slowing down of the British economy.
And putting that data in mind, bring us up to speed with intraday market numbers and their drivers.
Well, there's little change on the FTSE at intraday. That AAA gains that we were seeing at the start of the week has begun to slow. The FTSE 100, which is more internationally focused, is awaiting those all-important US jobless figures, which I believe are probably out about now. So it'd be interesting to see how the FTSE 100 ends. The FTSE 250 slightly up, but TUI, the package tour operator, their shares are down 16%, which is a massive drop for them. And that's because the British government, months and months and months and months and months after lots of other countries, including Nigeria, have adopted this law that you basically cannot travel into the country without showing a negative COVID-19 test. That's just been adopted in Britain, and it's got a lot of people raging. And yes, so TUI's shareholders are not happy about that. But to have an exact look at the numbers, the FTSE All-Share is up 0.15%. The FTSE 100 is up by 0.03%, and the FTSE 250 is up by 0.75%. In the currencies market, the British pound is up on the US dollar by 0.26%, up on the euro by 0.48%, and up on the Japanese yen by 0.27% at intraday.
Well, today is the last trading day for the week, and that's the first trading week in the new year. What is the outlook for next week?
Goodness me, I tried to look into my crystal ball, but I'm not getting any results, Chimezie. It's, you know, only day 8 of 2021, and what an 8 days it has been. It's pretty quiet, although I hesitate to say that, but it is pretty quiet in terms of corporate news. Next week, of course, it is January. January is always really slow. We are going to be expecting some updates from some retail stalwarts. The likes of JD Sports will be letting us know how they did during the month of December, and other retailers are likely to fall. I suppose the big numbers that everybody is going to be looking at and waiting for are the unemployment figures from the UK, which currently stands at about 4.8%. We want to see the GDP figures of December. They're not coming until much later in the week. So yes, it is pretty quiet, but of course everybody here is also on COVID watch. Yesterday, I believe we had nearly 1,200 deaths in a single day, one of the highest numbers we've had on record. So unfortunately, even with 2 vaccines doing the rounds, Britain is still grappling with COVID-19 in 2021.
Well, I guess we have to take it one day at a time while we track those developments. Thank you very much, Juliana. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo got re-elected after a tight contested election on Monday. While his supporters celebrate, the president now faces the challenge of tackling high levels of unemployment and boosting the economy, which has been badly hit by the coronavirus pandemic. Well, managing partner at Bespoke Business Consulting, Accra, Alabi John Kennedy, joins us now. Good morning, Mr. Alabi. Thank you very much for joining us on the program.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having
Good
me.
afternoon. Pardon me. Good afternoon.
Yes.
Well, Akufo-Addo's first-term rhetorics and policies centered on economic development. His campaigns in 2016 and 2020 promised to build a Ghana beyond aid. What does Akufo-Addo's win now mean for economic progress in post-pandemic Ghana and, of course, Africa as a whole?
Well, his win means sustainability of projects. It makes progression because based on his promises, he made us to understand that he's trying to make sure that he's able to achieve the Ghana Beyond Aid promise he made, and he wants to make sure that there's enough job created. Before now, the last tenure, he was able to create a little over 100,000 jobs, and that fell below the expectation of the unemployment situation in Ghana. However, with this continuity, we hope that he's going to make sure that he buckled up and find ways and means to meet the demands and the expectation of the citizenry. So we are looking at sustainability. He has been badly hit by the pandemic last year, and right now the economic is a bit shaky, but we are hoping, based on statistics, that this year, at least for the first quarter, it should be able to balance up the economy and then move forward from there.
Now, for you as a businessman in Ghana, what do you expect to see in this new administration of Akufo-Addo as far as the business environment and the economy is concerned?
I don't think there's anything new that will be offered. It's just more performance based on what he has promised. One of the promises he made was to provide 1 district and 1 factory, free SHS, which he perfectly did well. But most of the constructions he did during his first tenure, most of them were not completed. So we are looking at hoping that he will be able to complete most of these factories so that Ghana will be more industrialized to provide more jobs and focus on the trade agreements with Africa and be able to supply both the Ghanaians and the African region what they need to grow.
Now, are there policies you would like changed or perhaps maintained by him?
Basically, nothing really needs to change. He just have to be aggressive. We need an aggressive government. It's a bit laid back. And even though he's taking his time with his economic team, which is headed by his vice president, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, who's a very, very good economist, we hope by now he should plan to be able to aggressive and find solutions to make sure the economy is stable and pick up from there to provide basic things, basic amenities, basic economic growth and development for the people of Ghana.
So what's your assessment of his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic and, of course, the outlook on that?
He did perfectly well. At the height of the pandemic, he would come on national TV twice every month to update us on the number of cases, the number of deaths. He's been able to assure the whole country that he's on top of this, and he's been able to demonstrate that. He provided palliatives, provided free water, free electricity for the citizenry. So to my own assessment, I think he did best in the whole of the African region because he's been able to stay on top of it and gave the Ghanaian the confidence that the pandemic would not bring down the economy of the nation. And he did quite well. And he has actually continued again this year to provide the same palliative and the same amenities, free amenities for the citizenry. So he did very well, and we are hoping that this will continue. In addition, the restrictions at the border, I mean the Kotoka International Airport, I think it's best for us because he's been able to restrict movements. And even though people complain that it's expensive for them to do the test on arrival, but has actually helped us. In the whole of Africa, the cases in Ghana do not really go high compared to the rest of the African region. So he has done well, and we hope that he'll continue to do the best he did last year.
Thank you very much. Alabi, it's always a pleasure having you on the program. And by the way, Happy New Year.
All right. Same to you. Thanks for having me.
In the meantime, Ghana is on course to open sub-Saharan Africa's first liquefied natural gas to power project, paving the way for the supply of 1.7 million tons of natural gas per year for power generation. According to the project manager at Tema LNG Terminal Co, Edmond Ayamadua, the company is backed by Heloit's investment partners and Africa Infrastructure Investment Managers, which began building the $350 million project about 2 years ago. The move puts the West African country in a position to become a hub for the cleaner and cheaper fuel in the region, with the ability to start servicing the rest of the region with fuel that is continuously growing in popularity because of the cost and the significant environmental benefits it provides. And Sudan's cabinet has approved the country's budget for this year, which will still need a final approval by a joint meeting of the cabinet and the Transitional Sovereign Council. A statement by the cabinet says that the budget, which will maintain subsidies on wheat, electricity, cooking gas and medicine, has a target inflation rate of 95% by the end of this year. The new budget has a GDP growth target of 1.7% and a projected deficit equivalent to 1.4% gross domestic product. It adds that the official rate used to calculate the budget is 55 Sudanese pounds to the dollar. Sudan is experiencing a deep economic crisis with inflation at 254% in November. And South Africa's net foreign reserves rose to $52.054 billion in December from $51.257 billion in November. That's according to latest data from the country's Reserve Bank. The data shows that gross reserves rose to $55.013 billion in December from $53.760 billion in the preceding month. Meanwhile, the central bank's unsettled or swap transactions fell to $3.773 billion from $4.648 billion. And that's a wrap on the program for today and, of course, for the week. Thank you for watching. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwawo.